I'm 75 years old, and people ask me all the time, aren't you lonely? Don't you want someone? What about companionship? So I tried. At 72, I got myself a partner. Everyone said how wonderful. You deserve this. It's never too late for love. But here's what nobody tells you. I was lonelier with him than I ever was alone. Let me tell you how it started. My husband passed when I was 70. Cancer, 6 months from diagnosis to goodbye. Those first 2 years after, I won't lie, they were rough. The house felt too empty. Sundays were the worst. We used to make breakfast together, read the paper, just exist. Without him, Sundays felt like torture. But slowly I found my groove. Joined a woodworking class at the community center. Started having coffee with some ladies from church on Tuesdays. Taught myself to cook more than just eggs. Got a routine that worked. Not the life I planned, but it was mine. Then my daughter started worrying. We were having dinner at her place and she said, "Mom, you need to meet someone." "I'm fine," I told her. "You're not fine. You're alone all the time." Alone isn't the same as lonely. But she wouldn't drop it. Neither would my friends. At church, Carol pulled me aside. "You're too young to give up." Too young at 70. And honestly, I started believing them. Started thinking maybe something was broken in me. Maybe I was taking the easy route. Maybe I was just scared. So, I tried one of those dating websites. Took me 3 days to figure out how to upload a photo. Another week to write something about myself. But I did it. And when the messages started coming in, I felt something I hadn't felt in forever. Wanted. That's how I met Richard. 68, widower, nice smile. We messaged for a few weeks, then talked on the phone. He laughed at my jokes, asked about my woodworking, seemed genuinely interested. After 2 months, we met for coffee at a diner near his place. He was easy to talk to, told me about his grandkids, his volunteer work at the library, how he'd been alone for 3 years and was ready to meet someone. Driving home that day, I thought maybe this could work. Maybe everyone was right. The first few months were good. We'd have dinner once or twice a week. Go to afternoon movies because they're cheaper and less crowded. Take walks when the weather was nice. It felt normal. Like maybe I'd been wrong to think I was better off alone. But then small things started happening. He'd call in the morning, just checking in. Then again at lunch, then before bed. At first I thought it was sweet. This is what couples do, right? They stay connected, but after a few weeks something shifted. If I didn't answer right away, he'd call again, then text. "Where are you? I was worried. Why didn't you pick up?" One Tuesday, I was at coffee with the ladies. My phone kept buzzing. Richard. I let it go to voicemail. When I called him back an hour later, he was upset. "I didn't know where you were. I told you I have coffee with the ladies on Tuesdays. But you didn't answer." I felt this weight in my chest, this guilty feeling like I'd done something wrong by being with my friends for an hour. Then there were the weekends. Every Saturday, he wanted to do something. Visit his daughter, go to the mall, try that new place everyone's talking about. And if I said I wanted a quiet weekend at home, "Don't you want to see me? I thought we were together now." I started saying yes even when I wanted to say no. Because what kind of person disappoints someone who just wants to spend time with them? What kind of girlfriend needs this much space? Here's something nobody talks about. When you're 70 and you get a boyfriend, everyone assumes you should be grateful, like you won some prize. So when you're tired, when you need time alone, when you just want one quiet Saturday to yourself, you feel selfish, ungrateful. Wrong. About 6 months in, I noticed something. Every time his name showed up on my phone, my shoulders would tense. Not in a good way, in a bracing way, like I was preparing for something. One night, he called at 10:30. I was already in bed, had my book open, glasses on, about to read for 20 minutes before sleep. The phone rang. I looked at it. Part of me didn't want to answer. But then I thought, what if something's wrong? What if he needs me? So I answered. Nothing was wrong. He just wanted to talk about his day, about something his son said that bothered him, about a doctor's appointment next week he was nervous about. We talked for an hour and 40 minutes. When I finally hung up, it was past midnight. I just sat there in the dark, tired. Not from the late hour, from something else, something I couldn't quite name. The next morning Jane called. "Hey, wanna go fishing Saturday?" Supposed to be nice weather. I wanted to say yes. I love fishing with Jane. We don't talk much, just sit there with our lines in the water. It's peaceful. But I knew if I went, Richard would want to come. And if Richard came, it wouldn't be fishing. It would be conversation, questions about what I was thinking, comments about the bugs, the heat, how boring it must be to just sit there. So I told Jane I couldn't make it. Spent Saturday at a garden center with Richard instead, looking at plants he wanted to buy for his daughter's yard. That night, alone in my house, I realized something. My life wasn't mine anymore. Every decision I made, I was thinking about him first. Not because I wanted to, because I was afraid of what would happen if I didn't. Let me tell you about the money too, because nobody wants to talk about this part. At 75, I live on Social Security and a small pension. I'm comfortable, not rich, but I don't worry about bills. I'd learned to budget, to be careful. With Richard, I was spending money I hadn't planned for. Dinners out every week, $40-50 each time, gas driving across town to his place, birthday gifts for him, his daughter, his grandkids I'd never met. Then he wanted to take a trip to the coast. Just a weekend, he said, it'll be romantic. $200 for the hotel, another $100 for meals and gas. I didn't say no. How could I? It would sound cheap, ungenerous, like I didn't care about him. But I was lying awake at night doing math in my head, calculating how much this was costing me per month, watching my savings account shrink faster than it should. And it wasn't just the money, it was my energy. At 75, I have a limited supply. I wake up at 6, have my coffee, maybe work in the garage for a couple hours. By 3 in the afternoon, I'm tired. I need to rest. My body doesn't give me a choice about this. But Richard didn't understand. He'd want to go out for dinner at 6, then maybe stop by his daughter's house after to say hello. We wouldn't get back until 9 or 10, and I'd be completely wiped out. My back would hurt for 2 days, my sleep would be off. I tried explaining this. I'm just not as young as I used to be, I need more rest than I did. He'd look at me like I was making excuses. My friend's wife is 80, and she goes dancing twice a week. Like I was lazy, like I wasn't trying hard enough. The breaking point came about 8 months in. Richard started talking about moving in together. Not directly at first. He'd say things like, "Your house is so much nicer than my apartment. We're spending so much time together anyway. Think about how much money we'd both save." One night, he just came out with it. "I think we should live together." I sat there, fork halfway to my mouth. Live together? Why not? We're not kids. We don't need to date for years. That night, after I drove home, I sat in my living room, my house, the house my husband and I bought 40 years ago, where we raised our kids, where every corner holds a memory. I thought about sharing it. Someone else's toothbrush on the sink, someone else's schedule determining when I eat, when I sleep, when I have my coffee, someone else's voice filling the silence I'd learned to need, someone else's needs taking priority over my own every single day. And I felt panic, not excitement. Panic that I broke up with Richard the following week. We were having dinner at his place. I'd rehearsed what to say 100 times. But when the moment came, it all fell apart. "I can't do this anymore," is what came out. He looked up from his plate. "What? I can't." He started crying, asked what he'd done wrong, said he thought we had something real. And the guilt was crushing. But I told him the truth. I'm not ready to share my life with someone. I thought I was, everyone told me I should be, but I'm not. He was hurt, then angry, said I'd wasted his time, led him on. Maybe he was right, I don't know. For the first few weeks after, I felt terrible. I'd see couples at the grocery store and wonder if I'd made a mistake. My daughter was disappointed. What happened? Richard seemed so nice. My friends didn't understand. Carol said, "You're going to regret this." But slowly something started happening. I woke up one morning, and my first thought wasn't I need to call Richard. It was, what do I want to do today? I started going fishing with Jane again, rejoined the woodworking class I'd been missing, had quiet evenings at home, reading or watching whatever I wanted without feeling guilty about it, without my phone buzzing every hour. And I wasn't lonely. Everyone kept asking, "Aren't you lonely?" No, I was peaceful. For the first time in a year, I felt like I could breathe. Here's what I learned. There's a difference between being alone and being lonely. With Richard, I was never alone, but I was lonely because I couldn't be myself, couldn't say what I needed, couldn't live the way my body and mind needed to live. I was constantly adjusting, constantly worried about disappointing him. That's a different kind of loneliness, the kind where someone's sitting right next to you, but you've never felt more isolated because they don't see you. They see who they need you to be. It's been 3 years since Richard. I haven't dated since. People still ask if I've thought about trying again, maybe with someone different, someone more independent. No, I haven't, and I'm not going to, because I finally understand something. I got a boyfriend because I was afraid. Not because I was lonely, because I was afraid of what people would think if I stayed alone, afraid my daughter would worry, afraid my friends would pity me, afraid that being alone meant I'd somehow failed. That fear drove me into a relationship that made me miserable. And every day I stayed, I was telling myself, you can't be happy by yourself. You need someone to be complete. You're not enough on your own. Now I wake up every morning at 6, make my coffee exactly how I like it, strong with just a little cream, spend my mornings in the garage if I want, or I go fishing, or I do absolutely nothing. And I don't have to explain myself to anyone, don't have to check in, don't have to manage someone else's emotions, don't have to feel guilty for wanting space. My daughter finally stopped pushing last month. She said, "Mom, you seem happier now." And she's right. I am happier. Not because I found the perfect person, but because I found peace. Listen, I'm not saying relationships are bad. I'm not saying you should never find companionship. If you meet someone who adds to your life, who respects your need for space, who doesn't drain your energy, that's beautiful. But if you're 70, 75, 80, and you're thinking about getting a boyfriend just because you're afraid of being alone, stop. Ask yourself what you're really afraid of. Are you afraid of loneliness? Or are you afraid of what your children will think, what your friends will say, what it means if you can't find someone? Because here's the truth. Being alone doesn't mean you're lonely, and being in a relationship doesn't mean you're not. I have a friend, Helen, 81 years old, been with her boyfriend for 5 years, and she's miserable. Told me last month, "I can't remember the last time I had a full day to myself, but what am I going to do, start over at 81? That's not love, that's fear. Fear of being alone, fear of starting over, fear of admitting you made a mistake. At this age, peace isn't a luxury, it's survival. My blood pressure goes up when I'm stressed, my sleep suffers when I'm anxious, my body can't handle the constant emotional labor that comes with managing someone else's needs every single day. So I chose peace, and I'm not apologizing for it. Every morning I wake up grateful. Grateful that my day is mine. Grateful that I can be exactly who I am without editing myself. Grateful that I don't have to perform for anyone. Do I get lonely sometimes? Sure, there are moments. Christmas can be hard. Seeing couples at the park sometimes makes me think about my husband. But those moments pass, and they're nothing compared to the loneliness I felt when I was with someone and still felt completely alone. If you're watching this and you're in a relationship that's draining you, that's making you feel guilty for wanting space, that's costing you your peace, you're allowed to leave. Even at 70, even at 80, you're allowed to say this isn't working for me. And if you're alone right now and people are telling you to get out there, to find someone, to stop being difficult, you're allowed to say no. You're allowed to protect your peace. You're allowed to choose yourself. At 75, I finally learned something I should have known decades ago. Your own company is enough. You don't need someone else to validate your existence. You don't need a boyfriend to prove you're still alive, still worthy, still valuable. You just need to be at peace with who you are. And once you find that peace, you'll realize it's the most valuable thing you have. More valuable than companionship, more valuable than what other people think, more valuable than avoiding loneliness. So no, I don't have a boyfriend, and no, I'm not looking for one. Not because I'm bitter, not because I hate men, but because I finally learned to love my own company, and I'm not giving that up. You have one life, one chance to live these final years on your own terms. Don't waste them trying to make someone else happy while you slowly disappear. Don't trade your peace for companionship that comes with chaos. Don't let fear make your decisions. I'm 75, I live alone, and I'm the happiest I've been in years. That's not sad. That's wisdom. Does this story touch your heart? Then please hit that like button right now. Subscribe to this channel because I have more truths to share and honestly, not much time left to share them. Your subscription means the world to me. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, someone who's afraid of being alone, someone who's in a relationship that's draining them, please share this video with them. Sometimes people need to hear it from a stranger, someone who's already lived it, someone who's on the other side. Leave a comment below. Tell me your story. I want to hear from you. Are you alone and happy? Are you in a relationship and lonely? What are you going to do differently? Let's talk about this because your story matters. The clock is ticking for all of us, so let's make these moments count. Comment below. I read every single one. Please subscribe me.